Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, late evening in many of you, and thank you for staying with us. Welcome to the GigWork Summit second HyperTrack session. This is a solution showcase. Super excited about it because we have my partner in crime, Vice President of Product, Kakkad, introducing the platform in its entirety and talking about three exciting industries: healthcare, light industrial, which is warehouse and manufacturing workers, and delivery. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Ram and let him take it away. Thank you, Ram. All yours.
Great. Thanks, Gaurav, and welcome everybody to this session. Thank you all for joining the GigWork Summit. In this session, we're going to be talking about, how do we apply everything that we've heard in the past couple of sessions and see some solutions in action for some of our customers, right? So I'll walk through a couple of different customer stories on the healthcare and GigWork, healthcare GigWork, as well as light industrial and delivery kind of use cases. And I'll be focused on some of the things you've already heard about, but just see how it all comes together. Before jumping in, one thing I did want to sort of give a shout out to is we've heard a lot of themes through this summit. So we heard about Fritz talking about how automation sort of deeply embedded into the ethos of their company. We heard about Tarun from Partner talking about how they tried to build location for a couple of years, didn't work out, and they came to us and were able to partner and get to market really fast. And then we also heard from Akshay extensively, as well as Gigable, on how they've been tackling the no-show issue. So we're going to touch upon all of these in the talk today. So let me go and get started. So yeah, just to recap, I mean, GigWork is the future. That's what brings all of us here together. Just to give you some statistics, US Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that over 50% of US workforce will be engaged in GigWork by 2027. And so that's something that all of us need to be prepared for, the scale that's coming here. And, it's useful to know what the numbers look like every once in a while. At that scale, no industry is safe. We're going to see pretty much every industry get impacted, and we're already seeing that. Like Kashyap mentioned in this keynote, the 2 million gig workers that we see on HyperTrack today pretty much span all industries you can think of. Who knows, we probably even see new industries spawning from the gig industry. So we'll see where all this goes, but it's super exciting. So that scale and that diversity requires us to have automation at the heart of our technology, right? And what I have over here is basically a representation of what we see everybody's tech stack look like when they're trying to orchestrate gig work. So at the top, you have your order management system or fulfillment management system, basically any order or work that you believe need to be done by your workforce. This is the system that orchestrates collection of that work and distribution of it. That's where HyperTrack comes in. We help you orchestrate that work across three main entities that are involved. There's the operator who's managing and watching work, making sure things are going fine, handling exceptions as they get raised. There is the driver who's fulfilling the work, or the worker in the gig worker context. And in some cases, there'll be a consumer experience where a consumer is waiting on something and needs to be updated every now and again. So yeah, these are the three experiences, and HyperTrack helps you orchestrate all of these seamlessly without having to get into the details of each. So now let's look at how this actually plays out in the health services market, and let's just take a sample scenario here. So let's say there's a clinic, a Good Health Clinic. It's in San Francisco. They have, they provide home health services like blood collection, IV transfusion, like we heard from Liquid Mobile IV. They have certain business processes that require every nurse to start their route from a clinic, and the routes end at last order because that's when they stop tracking the nurse and the work that's been done. And they also do, they've historically always done scheduled orders, but the world is moving on demand. So now they need to figure out how to do on-demand orders in their existing planning workflow. Now, this adds a dimension of complexity that are typically not accounted for when you're building your systems. For example, if I'm planning my orders for tomorrow, which are scheduled, we know where the nurses are going to be. We know what their workbook looks like. We know where we can insert orders very easily. But when it's on demand and work is live, you need to get live location of the nurse. You need to understand what their live workbook is. And you need to be able to know who can actually fulfill the work without disrupting the rest of the schedule or rest of the SLAs that you've made to your customers. So that's the scenario that the clinic is dealing with. On the patient side, hey, I'm a patient. I just need a simple thing. I want a blood collection to be done, and I want it to happen at 4 to 6 today. If I can get my pizza from 4 to 6, why can't I get my blood collected from 4 to 6? That's sort of the customer or the patient mindset over here. And the location is at my home because that's the best place to do it. On the nurse side, in this scenario where we've taken, let's say there's a nurse, Karen, who works on a shift from 2 to 10, and she already has planned work for today, which is from 2 to 3, but she hasn't started her day yet because it's still early in the day, right? And her location is close to this new order. So what HyperTrack can do for you is basically we maintain state of the plan that you already have, and whenever a new order comes in, we are able to add that to the route of the plan that you already have. So for Nurse Karen, that's what this is what that would mean. If her route start was originally here, that does not change. She still has to go to the clinic and collect her supplies. But now she has 2 orders to fulfill. One was the first one that was already decided, and one is the second one that's been added. And now for her, and from a customer standpoint, what this means is that they have been their need to get their order fulfilled today has been satisfied. So from moving to a next day scheduled workbook, the business has now been able to offer a same day scheduled workbook, which takes you closer to what the customers actually want. So this is the view that the operator sees. They can see that this is the route that's been planned. These are the orders that are in the route. This is the nurse who's been assigned. And this is what the route looks like on a map. From a customer perspective, the top question for on-demand orders is Wismo. Where is my order? It's a standard industry term, applies pretty much everywhere now that work is moving on demand. And like Ashish showed us in the previous presentation, they can basically get a tracking link and look at it whenever they want to. They don't need to call your operations team, reduces your operations investment, reduces a customer contact. And like Amazon says, the best customer contact is one that doesn't happen. So this helps you get there. From an operations standpoint, what we've learned as we've worked with a bunch of customers over the years is that typically, the happy path of fulfillment of an order is that nobody hears about it. Because if you're hearing about it, it's typically going to be an exception or something bad has happened. And so what we do in our ops control tower is that we surface all the orders that are open for you to be completed, and anyone that has a risk is bubbled up to the top. Now, I'm only showing this to you in a UI context because it's easier to understand, but all of this is also available to you via webhooks. So if you have your own ops control tower, we can very easily support, sending you the data, which you can then, keep in your experience. And we'll talk about that a bit later. But what you can see over here is that we track a bunch of different risks for every order. So in this case, the order is in low battery. I'll just zoom in a little bit. In this case, the order is actually moving, the nurse is moving away from the destination. And that could be a call for you to, ask her what's happening. Maybe she's had a problem, or maybe she's got the wrong location in mind or something, and just check if everything's okay. And in this case, the order is actually delayed, and this can potentially require you to send a proactive communication to the customer in case they haven't been tracking the link on their own. Oh, oops, sorry. So that's the control tower experience. And when the order is actually being fulfilled, let's say a customer does call in and ask where their order is. This is the ops view of a live order. So the operator on your side can see, okay, where exactly the order is, where the nurse is, what the risks are, how soon they're expected to be at the customer's location. So it gives you a one-click view to really give a very targeted response to your customer and reduce the operating time. So finally, after the work actually gets done, you need to have a record of the work that's been done. And this is the replay that Ashish had mentioned in his presentation. So here what you can see is, and I'll play the video in just a second, but it basically replays to you the work fulfillment as it happened. So let me play this real quick. So as you can see, the nurse started over here. She's moving around. She's making progress, and she'll reach the end destination. This is a 4x speed just to sort of make it easier to watch. But this lets you get an actual proof of work record and use that in cases where the customer might dispute whether the work happened, or whether the gig worker might have claimed that they were at the work site at a particular time but actually weren't. So all these kind of remediation use cases, which is what you hear about in most fulfillment, whenever anything in fulfillment is decided or discussed, gets supported directly through the data that we provide. So let's move next to a topic that we've heard a lot about today, which is no-show reduction for light industrial services. This covers everything from delivery warehouse management or any other kind of thing, which is, let's just take a logistics company here. And in this case, instead of showing you the UI, I'll kind of show you how a builder or a technology builder like yourself can build such a workflow using the HyperTrack signals. So let's take the example of a logistics company which has a warehouse and they need a forklift operator for 1 hour at 10 in the morning. They have 4 workers who are available, and let's say it's a next day order and everything is happening on a schedule. And they have John, James, Nancy, and Karen, all four are available for the next day. And John was deemed to be the best worker just based on everything else that they knew. So maybe John had the best ratings and is the closest worker. So John was assigned the order and he's available 9 to 5. So it all works out. And, in happy path, John would go fulfill the order. The customer would be happy with it. He'd provide you a great rating and all would be well. But reality can often be very different. And so let's just talk through what a timeline would look like. So at 9 a.m., the order is at 10 a.m., but at 9 a.m., you can dispatch the order to John using the orders API. What this would start doing is basically tracking the ETAs of the order to the destination. And let's say at 9:10, you detect that there's no movement from the worker, but the order is still on time because he's still within range of getting, if he starts now, he could still make it in time. You get this information via webhooks, so you don't need to act on it right now because everything's still fine. At 9:20, you detect that movement has actually not started, and now the order is getting delayed. So you kick off a workflow that reaches out to the driver and says, "Hey, are you unavailable? Is there something wrong?" And the driver actually confirms that they're unavailable now. So now you're in a firefight to figure out who can replace the order. So what you can do is find other workers, and this is the nearby search functionality that we've heard a little bit about. So if this is the order destination, you can do a search around it, and you can find that, hey, James, Karen, and Nancy are all there. They're all still available. And it looks like James is 1.4 miles away. Karen is 2.6 miles away, and Nancy is 5.1 miles away. So maybe James can jump in and actually pick up this order. You can also decide if you want to, ultimately the decision to assign an order is something you control. So you could say that, hey, Karen is actually better suited for the order, or if there are skill sets that Karen has that are more relevant for the order, you can decide what's the best way for this order to be fulfilled. But that's control that you have so that you can essentially, give the order to the worker that you want. And once the order has been assigned and they accept it, you can start order tracking. This will also start generating ETAs, basically in the same way that they were generated previously. And at 9:45, you find out that the order is on time. So you've turned around the delay situation that you were in. At 10 a.m., James arrives at the destination. You start getting the webhooks for what he's doing in the destination, and if he exits the geofence for work, etc. If he has any tracking outages, which might reduce your ability to track the proof of work, all that is captured intrinsically because of the work that's being tracked. At 10:55, the order is completed. You receive the order summary from HyperTrack, and you can use that to then automate invoicing and payouts. As we heard from one of the speakers earlier today, gig workers nowadays expect to be paid right on target, right after their jobs are completed. So basically, you can build all of this using the signals that we provide. Let me move now to the last topic, which is one I feel the most passionate about, which is, all this technology looks great, but what does this mean for the world that you're building and the vision that you're kind of trying to realize, right? And I think one of the great things about the way we like to partner with customers is that we look at ourselves as an enabler to help you build your vision fast. So we do not take over the experience that you want to build for your operator, your driver, or consumer. You may choose to do that in the short term using out-of-the-box HyperTrack feature sets, but ultimately the decision of what experience you want to build is yours. We just help you orchestrate in the background what you need to across the key entities that are present. And so here I have a list of customers who we're working with and the kind of description of their use case and how they've actually gone to market with HyperTrack. So in the health space, we talked about enabling on-demand and scheduled orders. So they use our orders API, drivers API, and webhooks to manage the planning, assignment, and tracking of orders. They have their own in-house dashboard. So they've basically used integrated HyperTrack signals, data signals into that dashboard. But on the driver side, to track drivers' work, they needed an app. So out of the box, they use the HyperTrack orders app. This is something they can replace down the road if they want to. But for now, to get to market fast, because this was critical functionality, they've gone to market with the HyperTrack orders app. Similarly, on a gig work marketplace, we've talked about it, marketplace, and it's a marketplace for light industrial and other services using similar APIs. Now, they did not want to rebuild their own UI, so they've just embedded HyperTrack dashboards in theirs. They actually had their own worker app, and so they've embedded the HyperTrack SDK in it to track live location and work. And for consumer sharing experiences, they're basically using the HyperTrack experience out of the box. So getting all of this really fast gets them there soon. We also see, varied use cases on the sales side. So in the sales side, we work with an ed tech company that has customers with predefined locations. And for their sales forecasting, it's important for them to track how many times a sales manager has visited a particular location and spent time over there. That's, I mean, for anybody who's run a sales organization, that's like sales 101. You need to know how many meetings are occurring, how much you're covering each account, and then you need to map which are the big accounts, how much coverage they need. So what they do is they use the geofences API. They're integrated on HubSpot for their CRM. So they've integrated signals from HyperTrack's ops experience into their UI. They use the HyperTrack Visits app, which is designed specifically for visit tracking to predefined spaces. And like that, they're able to get to market with the CX that they want. So they don't have to make their ops managers go to any other dashboard. They can use the information as it is in place wherever they need to and get to market fast. So we have a couple of more examples here, but I think we're running a little behind schedule. So I'll skip through them and I'll open up for questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ram. Great session. Question here about the amount of effort that's involved in first integrating a mobile SDK from HyperTrack into the app, or using the worker app, the orders app as a worker app.
Yeah,
what's
I mean,
the level of effort involved?
Yeah, I think I like to quote what Akshay mentioned earlier in the call, right? Which is that, or earlier in the session, which is that, they were able to get to market with HyperTrack in a few weeks because there was some, sort of tooling to be done internally. Typically, to get your, happy path working, it can take a day or less. We're on. I mean, integration is a key part of our support that we provide, and so we're on call to help you guys get it right. And so, yeah, it's usually a lowish lift, and yeah, I mean, a day or like few days is reasonable. Is a reasonable expectation.
Wonderful. The other question is in terms of using the APIs, skill set required for that, and how easy it is to utilize APIs as a part of the typical customer cycle.
Yeah.
What's the level of effort involved?
Yeah, I mean, we have the APIs are sort of easy to use. We have a Postman collection, which can help you get started really fast. They're builder focused. So of course, yeah, we do expect the APIs to be used by developers. And so, yeah, that level of effort to integrate the APIs has never been a concern for many of our customers. Like Tarun and Akshay mentioned, I think they've got into it pretty fast. And so this helps you get to market pretty fast.
Last question. Is there a free trial available? I know the answer to that, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have our roots in, being a very developer-focused company. And so free trials are absolutely available. You can sign up on our website and get started today.
Perfect. With that, this time, for a change, we will give everybody 5 minutes of rest time. Do come back. We have Hire, HYER, which is growing really well in multiple industries, including retail, hospitality, and others. They're going to share how they are created a gig work marketplace for on-demand work in retail, hospitality, and other industries. So they're going to share that in 4 more minutes. Do come back for that. We'll see you back on the platform for the rest of the session shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.